Unbelievable. Big
He kicks it like he kicks the ball like it fucking. He caught it in bed with his wife or something. It's fucking insane.
It's insane. But yeah, boys, back again. F10, double figures. Who would have thought, eh?
Go on it.
So we've got Brett back in tonight. Struggling to get the full band back together at the moment. But we'll get there eventually. Brad's out meeting some of his old mates. So we've got Brett back in tonight. Quick run over. We'll go over last round, including Origin. Boy Cordner retiring. We'll speak more on game one, what we liked, disliked, some surprises and possible changes for game two. Then we'll head into our top three this week, and we are doing props. So, we'll get straight into round 14. So started off last Wednesday, New South Wales 50, Queensland 6. Then we went into the NRL round, Manly 50, Cowboys 18, Sharks 19, Penrith 18, Titans 34, Roosters 35, Bunnies 24, too good for the Knights 10. Raiders weren't the favourites this week. They held off the Broncos 38-16. Storm had another big win, which took them to the top of the ladder, 42 against New Zealand 16. Eels had a big win against West Tigers 40-12, and Dogs, probably the biggest upset of the round, got over the Dragons 28-6. Got a little bit of stat actually for Storms. Obviously went to the top of the ladder after this week's win. I had a look through their games because they've beaten the record for amount of games and how many points that they've scored so far this year. It's 470 something. It's the most in the modern era. So I had to look back through to see how many points they'd scored in each game. And it turns out 8 games this year they've scored over 40. And there was another one that they'd scored over 30 games. That's unbelievable. Like,
that is crazy, yeah.
Eight games out of 14, I think it is. They've scored over 40 points. And I went back through and I thought, maybe they've just been playing sort of more low, bottom of the table teams. And they really haven't. I think they've beaten the Bunnies twice. They've beaten the Roosters. Like, they've played some pretty decent teams. I think their only 2 losses this year have been
Dragons?
Penrith and Parra, yeah. Which they're both, like, Penrith only got them by 2 points, and I think Parra was...
Remember, Oldham didn't ground the ball over the line.
Yeah, right at the end, yeah.
It sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but they've gone under the radar because everyone's looking at Penny. And so, Jesus, look out.
The thing is with them, though, if you take out Munster or Grant or Papenhausen hasn't been there, they're fine. I think if you took out Cleary from Penrith, the rest I think they could get by with that. But if they lost Cleary, I don't think they could win the comp.
Well, we've seen that.
Well, look at the last 2 weeks. Like the Storm, I mean, they had pretty much all their players back up this week and put a score on New Zealand. But Pappenhausen's been out for probably a month or so now, and Hines has done a proper good job. Munster wasn't very good this week. Yeah. Like, they've got, obviously, Hughes is there. They've got a lot of New Zealand players in their team, which I think helps.
So the Bromwich boys are massive. People underestimate how good the Bromwich brothers are, I think. Like, they are such a big influence on that team.
Yeah.
I think Cleary's replacement's just a total different player to Cleary, man. He's a totally different player. I just don't think it suits the Panthers, though. It just proves
he's not a strong 7. I think he was probably – I feel like he was probably a bit of a gun when he in the younger grades. So, like, he came up through with Cleary and Luai and all that, and he was, like, pretty good. But I just don't think – like, you look at Cleary and Luai have sort of excelled their games to the next level, and he seems to have just sort of, like – he's probably a good New South Wales Cup 7, maybe a 6. And he's to be fair to him, he's done a pretty good job coming off the bench and playing sort of that middle role and stuff. But to lead the team around in a team that's been very successful, he's just not. He's nowhere close. Like
They gave him the flick this week.
But so they should, to be honest.
I mean, he has been good off the bench for you guys. I thought he just slopped back to the bench, but they brought in Mitch Kenny instead.
I think Mitch Kenny's a better 14, definitely with Coruscant.
Reckon he can cover the halves?
He probably couldn't cover the halves, which is maybe a little bit. I mean, how many teams carry a person that can cover the halves? You know what I mean? Well, I mean, worst case scenario, if Cleary goes out, then Luai jumps into 7, then he could probably cover that 6 role.
Yeah.
But I'm not too concerned with May being dumped, to be honest. I was pretty happy with Burton at 6.
Yeah, he killed it. He was the only points options for you guys.
Yeah. Sometimes I think they kind of, when May wasn't doing his job, they kind of went to him a little bit too much because he's not the type of player that's going to lead the park around like Cleary. He has a huge boot on him and stuff, but he's definitely more of that running white and sort of 5'8".
He has a monster kick.
Unbelievable.
He kicks the ball like a fucking. He caught it in bed with his wife or something. It's fucking insane.
It's insane. But it's something to do with left foot kickers. Something about it. They can contact the ball way better than right footers. I don't know what it is. He also had a big win over West Tigers. Probably the best thing that came out of that game was Moses telling Gutho to fuck off. That was unbelievable. At the time, I was like, man, what are you doing? But then I heard a interview with Arthur after the game, and apparently that's pretty much just how they talk to each other on and off the field. When they train, they have digs. Yeah, and I mean, if both of them can take it, then whatever. Mate, that's how they choose to communicate. They're grown men, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Scum footy.
Yeah.
Anything you guys took from the last round?
Look, I think like the Titans were about 1 minute off one of the greatest comebacks of all time. They were about 30-0 down. I was watching the game at home going, fuck on board. I don't know why I'm watching this game. And it ended up being really good, to be honest. It was a really good comeback. Titans showed unbelievable fight. And Sam Walker, he looked cooked. He was off, got a injection, come back on, kicked the winning field goal. But, I just thought that was a really good comeback to watch this week.
I turned that game on the radio. I was coming back from the sunny coast. And when I turned it back on, they said, I think it was like 30-6 or something, like 32-6, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, great. This is just going to be a shit game. And then it was almost one after the other. It's like Titans score, they get the ball back, and then they charged in the field, and they just kept scoring. And I think I caught probably like the last 10 minutes or so. And, I mean, good on Sam Walker to be able to ice that field goal under a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
I'm still not completely convinced with him. There's something like
he's
one of those players, he's sort of like, and that is right. And he probably needs to put on a little bit of size as well.
Oh, I mean, he will. I mean, just naturally, he'll put on probably 8-10 kilos over the next 4 or 5 years.
I mean, well, hopefully.
I think he's only in the 70 kilo range.
They reckon he needs a shoulder reco after the season as well. That's pretty bad.
That's not a good start for a young.
He's already had one.
You look at people like Foreign, like he was a young bloke coming through with a gun, and then he ends up with God knows how many surgeries he's had on all parts of his bodies.
That's Sawali in that game. The contact he was having on Fafita was really impressive for a 17-year-old. He was hitting Fafita hard.
Yeah,
and he wasn't getting bumped off. That was what impressed me the most out of everything I've seen from him, was him standing up to Fafita and putting shots on.
What's is he New South Wales?
Yep, Sydney boy.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Seriously, he is playing above his weight, man. Like he's pretty solid. Like he's not like comparing him to like Reece Walsh, Reece Walsh has got all the flair like a young Benji, but Sawali, I don't think he's made many errors like in his games, but he's fucking solid. You wouldn't think he's a 17-year-old man. He's going to be
the way he's been playing. It's funny because there was all this talk about him before he came in. I guess probably mostly to do with the fact that he was 17. They're trying to get the contracts from him, whatever. But since he's come in, he hasn't had a lot of notice on him. And I think that's wise because he's just going out there really sticking to his sort of like fundamentals, doing his job and not doing anything too flashy, but also like doing a very good job for, like you said, someone who's like that young is nuts.
I think it's because he's been a late inclusion every week. They haven't had the whole week to talk it up.
Never a
He's come in on the
thing,
21. Yeah, I think the most notice I had was for his debut against the Broncos when they said the day before that he was going to come in. And everyone's focused on Walker. So
that's
sneaking under the radar.
Walker being in that 7 role. It's definitely taking a lot of pressure on him. Speaking of the Roosters, Boyd Cordner retired this week, which is great. I think he's only 28. 29. Obviously, to do with the concussions, kind of goes, I guess people start talking a lot about the NRL rule changes and all that sort of stuff. Arguably, Cordner's concussions come off the back of defence rather than attack. 100%. He's not getting knocked out being tackled. He's getting knocked out making tackles, which when you think about it, a lot of those tackles are when they're going low. So it's kind of
pretty unfortunate.
It is, but like you look at sort of like the NRL's trying to make this thing about head contact and all that sort of stuff and trying to make players aim lower. Whereas, is that
Kobe Hetherington deserved that send off, mate? It was ridiculous. Kobe Hetherington
didn't
bad.
Worst send off of all time. But anyway,
the worst.
With Boyd Cordner though, the way he's retiring at 29, but can you name a player under 30 who's won more? Like he's won premierships, he's captain Australia, he's captain his club, he's captain his state, won everything, and he's under 30.
I was going to go into that.
Yeah, he's won 3 premierships. Well, captain 2, captain New South Wales to series wins. Yeah, it's insane. And he's not.
He hasn't even played 200 games. He's only played 183.
Yeah,
and I mean he's been around for 10 years.
Which 20 tests though. How good's that?
Yeah, so he came into the test team kind of new, like young. I can still remember.
He was like 20. He was in the World Cup in 2013.
Well, he debuted 2011, and so he was only in the system for 2 years before he was playing for Australia, and I think Origin the next year.
We played more games for Australia than New South Wales.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
And deservingly so. He was one of those players that just caught your attention straight away as soon as he came on the scene. And I don't. My earliest memory of him is, do you remember that game? Well, it was that season where Souths and Roosters, they played each other twice, and each game one of them scored the winning try right on the siren. So the first one, it was the Roosters, where Minicello scored under the posts, but that play was set up off a line that he ran and broke through and got an offload off, and he was like brand new back then, and I was like, "Fuck, this kid is a gun."
That's right.
Great hole runner, like one of the best hole runners you'll see. Like he was always in the right spot. He was just so good at it, and strong defensively.
Always keen to take the shit hit ups too, like he and like he's not a Viliami kick out or fucking he's not getting an arm free and flowing and throwing flick offloads. But if there's a shit hit up to be taken, he'd be the first guy to put his hand up, I reckon.
It was evident in Origin. Like you look at that, especially obviously when he became captain, they call it that captain's knock or that captain's run, and you said about him like not being a kick out is sort of that player where he's probably big enough that he'll sort of make that first contact right on the player and then go for an offload or just sort of try and run over him or whatever, or have that like really late footwork at the line. Whereas like Brett was saying before, Cordner's ability to hit a hole was unbelievable.
Yeah. And
that's why he was so good with a good half. He could look at the defensive line, change his line, and if a good half is going to throw nut on chest, he's just straight through that line no matter what. So that's why he works so well at the Roosters, because Pearce can throw a good ball. Like that's why I think that was such a good like. Do you remember the JT and Gavin Cooper combo? I always think it's underrated. Like the Pearce and fucking Cordner combo was pretty good.
Him in his prime at the moment would be lethal because he was they were he was so effective as a hole runner during probably the period in time where it's been the best defensive structures at all teams ever.
Yeah.
Bring that
well,
into
the rucks and
current
everything
game.
was so low.
So slow.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
But
thing
he ended up scoring 50 tries, and I was like, for back row,
for the Roosters,
that's a lot of tries. Yeah, that's heaps.
The thing that always impressed me too is that when you could see a team were out on their feet, you know, himself included, where he was gassed, he would still call for the ball and take those big hit ups, like you know, like you were saying, those shit hit ups. You never saw him saying, "No, I'm too fucked" and stuff like that. He always was lining up, "No, give me the ball, I'll run it," even when he was fucking gassed. And like that's just ticker. You can't train that.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'll throw someone under the bus here, but David Fafita, as fucking talented as that fucker is, you know, he'll go hiding in big games. He won't sometimes want to take that hit up. Where Cordner, he would never ever do that. So
that's right.
Yeah, we had a quiet game in Origin, real quiet.
Yeah, big time.
I heard I can't remember who it was, and I definitely agree with Fafita. To go off subject a little bit, if someone sort of goes after him, that's when he sort of starts to go a little bit quiet. Like when someone's like really putting it on him for like a good contest, he'll never really like. And I mean, he's still sort of young, but
he's 20.
He doesn't have that
22.
sort of. Yeah, he doesn't have that thing in him that like really wants to go after that person that's trying to go after him.
Unless it's a Bali nightclub.
Well, yeah.
I mean, look what Pangai Jr. did to him earlier in the year. Like he
exactly
did
perfect example.
Yeah. You can keep him real quiet if you try and put a few shots on him early.
I mean, and as good as that was as a Broncos fan, it was really disappointing because that was what you were looking forward to in that game, was that TPJ versus Fafita matchup.
Yep.
And if he stands up, it's unbelievable.
And he just went straight into his shell.
Yeah.
Because he did. He had a really big game when the Titans flogged the Broncos last time.
Yeah.
When they lost, he was just. I mean, giving him a bit of shit, but he still ran for over 100 meters in Origin. But he is a game breaker, and he's just. You seen the size of him? He's so big.
Crazy big.
So, but I mean, he did still run for 110 meters from 15 carries.
Yeah.
Speaking of game one, we'll get into it. We're probably going to take up for the majority of our time. It's a pretty big game.
We can skip it.
Yeah, we can do it.
Obviously,
nothing to report really. We'll see.
New South Wales obviously got up 50-6. I could almost guarantee that no one really saw that coming. I think New South Wales on their team on paper was arguably probably a little bit stronger than Queensland's, but we also saw that last year, and Queensland obviously came away with the series. Start off with you, Brett. Give us your dislike, and surprises from that game.
Well, I mean, I said last week that I was really concerned about the edges, and that's where really they got tore apart. Was using Capel in the centers. I think his performances from last year were good, but they were a bit overstated. Like people were saying, he had an all-time performance. He was okay, and marking Gutherson from memory.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see how much emphasis was put on Mitchell and Tedesco. Mitchell and Trbojevic swapping over. Like Trbojevic basically played fullback and attack, and Tedesco really took a back step with that. I mean, he still ran for 200 meters. Had a really strong game, but I think Trbojevic, his performance was ridiculous. Forwards, obviously, it hurt losing Welch, but some big changes need to come in. I don't like the talk of them talking about bringing in that Hammer bloke from up north.
Oh, Fidel Hammer.
Yeah, Hammer Fidel. Yeah, he's quick, and same for Walsh. Like, there's no point that there is a chance that they get another flogging with the current rule set. Don't bring in these young guys who are going to be in the team for a long term. I'd be looking at bringing in someone like Kurt Mann to play right center. That's where he's playing at the moment. Even someone like Sebastian Chris from the Raiders. Mann is now playing in the centers, which is great. It's another Dewey situation. I think that's his best position. That's the change I'll be going on top of the two forwards coming back in Papali'i, and obviously Welch will get more than 4 minutes.
I feel
No
like
recall for Will Chambers, mate.
I was going to say, yeah, I've heard a lot of
His
people
hand
talking
up.
about
He put his
Chambers.
hand up. Yeah, he put his hand up. I don't see it happening.
I would rather get Inglis back over from England, and he's just torn his hamstring, and I'll
I'd
still
rather
get
get
him in
fucking
there.
choppy close in, mate. Like,
I don't know. I'm not completely not sold on Chambers coming back in. Like,
That
looking at the
background
list,
should
he's
say
been
that.
there.
I mean, I sent you guys a list of Queensland eligible centres that are available at the moment, and it's slim pickings. So yeah, I'm not like, when you look at that list, Will Chambers is one of the best names on it.
It has to, if you just give him solid rules, like when you think about his last few. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you look at his last couple of games, that was his big downfall, was these ridiculous kicks, sort of that I guess he bought from the Storm system, where it sort of worked a little bit, but
he refuses to get
execute.
tackled. Like he's just like, oh, I'm going to get tackled. I'll just put a grubber in.
He's had a few absolute nightmares defensively, and that would be a concern.
Yeah, especially
But
with that.
is he going to be any worse though? That's the thing.
Well, I just think there's much better options who aren't 47 years old. Like,
but do you think Kurt Mandy's that option? I'm not sold on him at all.
I don't know.
He's one of my most overrated players in the NRL.
We're gonna do we want to dive in here or stick with the?
Oh yeah. Do you have any more, Brett? Of your likes, dislikes, or?
Obviously dislike severely the result and the scoreline, but to be expected. Munster and Grant looked dangerous, but missed 8 tackles. But both coming back from a month off. They can't get any worse, but obviously, hopefully, everyone will be better come game 2.
Right, Soxy, what are yours? Likes, dislikes, surprises?
Okay, so I'll put a caveat on my likes. I'm saying this as a footy fan, not as a Queensland fan. Tommy Turbo, fucking what a pleasure to watch that. I mean, it was the only thing, even as a Queensland fan, you couldn't help but stand up and applaud, like that was a performance and a half. What was it? A hat trick, try assist, fucking roundabout, a marathon.
8 try involvements, yeah.
Yeah.
He was just around the ball, wasn't he?
Yeah. And like I said, it was just, it's just sort of like a cherry on top for his season so far. It makes you really, I don't know. I think it's one of those performances that we'll look back in a couple of years and say, "Fuck, you remember when Turbo just fucking carved up in Townsville?" Yeah,
I think his whole season would be sort of like that 09 Jared Hayne. Like everyone sort of Hayne had that great career, but the year that really stands out for him is that year. Yeah, and I think this is probably Turbo's year to have that.
That's a good comparison. Let's hope that's the only thing he follows suit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the other example I thought of was bloody Barber in 2012, which is also another one you don't want to follow in the footsteps of. But, so dislikes. Probably, I wanted to see the Townsville crowd get more involved. They as soon as we got the run of play went in New South Wales' favour, the stadium was silent, and I was thinking, "Far out, these guys should be just fucking champing at the bit," and yeah, it felt like, I mean, I most of the games I go to at Canberra Stadium, and you boys who have been to games down here know that it's dead. Like when the Raiders aren't winning, it's just dead silent. And that's what it felt like. And it's like, it's Origin. Get the fuck up and start, lifting your team up. They need it. And it all came off the back of a fucking dumb moment by Cole Felt, where he took out Addo when there was absolutely no need to. And it's kind of like that, felt like it was all downhill from there.
He had some great explanations, didn't he? It was just like, it was that overcommitting to not doing the wrong thing, but I can't even. It's almost like he got too excited.
Yeah.
Like
I think he
understand
he was one of those guys that thought, okay, here's my chance. I've got to show him what I've got, sort of thing. And I was like, mate, just say you're right.
Too enthusiastic. It's just like, do your job, mate.
And my
Are
last
you
thing,
surprised though?
my last thing is the big surprise for me was Tarek Sims. I expected, I thought that was a dumb call putting him in the team, especially in the run-on team. But fucking well done. Like that was a great performance. Try assist. Like what was that pass? Like that
it was an offload. It went 30 meters.
Yeah.
15 meters.
Yeah. So well done, Tarek.
Would you keep him in the team? With Crichton back?
You have to off that performance, I think.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah.
Stand out. What else, mate?
Yeah. Likes same as Stocksy. I think it was good to see a couple of good debuts for New South Wales, even though it was them. Like I thought Toho was really, really good, and Liam Martin off the bench did exactly what I thought. I honestly, if I'm being honest, I didn't think we were out of the game until maybe we lost Christian Welsh. I thought that was a huge loss, but once we lost that battle in the forwards, and once Tommy and Latrell started to inject themselves, it just couldn't be defended. And to echo what Brett said, our edge defense just had no idea, and they didn't know whether to come in, stay back. There was just no idea. So massive. I honestly think that, like, if we fix that, I think we're going to be too bad because, for one, we're here. We're at Suncorp for game 2, and we'll have Papa Lee back. We'll have Christian Welsh back.
Ponga.
Ponga. That's another.
He's back this week.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, hopefully he comes through injury free. They say Brimson's in doubt, so look, there's a good 14 option for maybe Hunt. They're talking about Reece Walsh coming in, which I think is pretty dumb, but. Look, I don't think it's over. It's a 3-game series. It's really disappointing to lose, and to lose to get 50 put on us is pretty disappointing. And I don't know. Like I think the biggest issue is the centers. Like, I mean, you can't have Capewell out there getting exposed like that. Even Xavier Coates, he got exposed too. So I think once they sharpen that up, I think we'll be all right. Yeah.
What are your surprises out of the game?
Surprises. Look, honestly, Munster. Like I thought he was pretty average. I thought he didn't inject himself, and then he starts to get, as you guys know, he gets a little bit, throw the toys out of the cot when things aren't going his way. I think he needs to keep his head a bit better, and I just think if he can keep his head a bit better, DCE needs to help him, calm him down, whatever. I don't think Holmes is probably the right option at fullback as well. I think he's a great winger. But I think Ponga, I'm really hoping Ponga flies this weekend and comes to fullback. He's got a bit of X factor to him that Holmes might not have.
He doesn't even need to fire. He just needs to get through and not be injured, and he'll be the fullback.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Mine, my liked was New South Wales. New South Wales defence, even though they were up by a bunch, sort of like towards the end of that game, where New South Wales' biggest downfall over as many years back as I can remember were Queensland always had that thing in defence, sometimes with the ball, but mostly in defence, where they really needed to stand up, they had the ability to do that. Whereas more often than not, sort of post 2005, New South Wales have just never really. Like they've had glimpses of it, sort of like, I guess it probably won in the series in 2014, but outside of that, they never really showed that real desire, regardless of the result, to defend well, defend your line, and do that type of thing. They showed that again on outside of Turbo's shit missed tackle on Capewell. Queensland didn't really look like scoring all night, to be honest. Like their online defence was very impressive, even though they were sort of, especially in the second half, almost scoring at will. They really showed up with their D. And to me, that's just like one of the biggest things in Origin is your attitude towards the game when you're on the field. And that kind of shows where they're at this year and the attitude and willing to put their bodies on the line, even though they're up by half a ton. they're willing to like really work for each other and make sure that they didn't score right towards the end. I dislike. I know I've spoken about it to death, and Dave, you touched on it a little bit. Munster's attitude when they lose, mate, that like I know it wasn't like a full-blown soccer kick, but just the act of doing that to Martin when he's on the ground. When Martin didn't even do anything wrong, all he did was put pressure on him when he was kicking the ball, and everything about that whole thing was completely fair. But to get up and while Martin's on hands and knees and just put one in his ribs the way that he did, it's just like, come on, man. Like,
he's got that in him, man.
That's rubbish. That is rubbish. Like, that's just shitty played like that. It really lets him down. And, like, obviously, he's Queenslander, so I don't care too much. But to have that happen on the Wednesday night and then kind of back it up with a similar sort of thing the very next game, it's like, surely, like, start learning some lessons, you know what I mean? It wasn't anything, but it was just the act of it doing, you know what I mean? Like, you do that in one game and you get fined for it. Probably don't do anything like that in the next game. You know what I mean?
I think he needs to get warned about, like, look, we know you didn't kick him full pelt because you would have fucking broke his ribs, but if you have any brain explosions, we use lash out. And, like, because he's that, I've seen him in the play the ball lash out with flying elbows, and, you know, when he gets dominated, things aren't going his way. He doesn't think, and he lashes out when things aren't going his way. The whoever it is needs to probably say to him, look, you do that again and we'll fine you, and we're going to fucking put you on the sideline for a few weeks. So
I think even Bellamy came out this week and publicly said, like, you've really got to get that shit out of your game, because it'll end up at, I don't know.
Well, it could cost you a grand final one day or something.
That's what I mean. Like, something dumb like that could
he
really
got sin bin twice in the grand final, the losing grand final. He got done twice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure one of those things was for like lashing out.
What it was.
Sort of like that kicking thing. So I think he raked on someone's face.
That's the judiciary issue. I mean, did you guys see the other part of the Eels where he dropped his knee on the old mate's head? He literally kind of missed the first one and then lined himself up and dropped again, and all he got was a fine. I mean,
ridiculous.
That should be the stuff that's go. And they're talking about trying to limit the head contact. I think dropping your knee on a bloke's head might not be the best for it.
What I found interesting,
minimum 3 weeks.
What I found interesting out of that was the very play before that was I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was someone from the opposing team, like, sort of, wasn't a punch, but like went with like a closed fist on the face, kind of skimmed off with that, so went with the elbow, and that's sort of how they got the ball back. And then Papali'i did that. So, but the first guy didn't get anything. Like, they looked at it, said, no, it's like nothing wrong here. And then, granted, like, Papali'i, that was stupid, and he definitely deserved sort of what he got.
Yeah.
But how's that? Like, how's a knee different to a fist?
Yeah, it's so dumb. It just makes no it's sense. So inconsistent still. And all you got to do is look at and like I said, my prediction for Origin came true. No sin bins. So, and I give Jared Sutton shit all the time, but very well refed game it was.
Very, very well refed.
And it was good.
But then I think, fuck yeah, we're turning a corner here, and then we see Kobe Hetherington sent off against the Raiders for basically just being in the right spot, and a dude lands on him. Like,
you look at the Gold Coast game, the Proctor doesn't get sent off because the referee goes, "Oh no, Manu got up, Manu stood up."
Yeah, that's the big issue. If you guys, I watched 360 and with the other Fox show, the Savo, and you're right, because the referee said, "Oh no, he's up to Manu," and Manu got smashed by Proctor and didn't lay down, didn't make the most of it. So it seems like they're unintentionally maybe looking at the injury of what's happening, like, rather than in context. Because in context, Kobe Hetherington was just making a normal tackle. He got ankle tapped by Tyson Gamble and midair and fell into his shoulder, and then he laid down and he ended up going off for HIA. And then I think the ref went, well, shit, fuck, if you're going off for HIA, it looks pretty bad. He's lying down for a while. send him off. Where Manu got clocked, got straight back up, tough as, and the ref was just like, "Oh,
that's the problem."
The thing with the
he just went on report.
The thing with the Hetherington one,
what's happened. They're not reacting to, like Dave said, they're not reacting to the act. They're reacting to what happens after the act.
But the thing with the Hetherington one too is that, I mean, if you do feel like, okay, we're going to have to do something reluctantly here, fucking bin at most. Send off. Come on.
But if the ref's going to start sin binning, sending off with what's happening with the player that got hit, guess what the game's going to fucking turn into? And trust me, I know because I watch a lot of it. It's going to be soccer. Yeah. It's going to 100% because
do you know what pisses me off like that?
And look at
such an easy fix.
Do you remember that one 2 weeks ago? Dane Laurie. Is that Dane Laurie?
Laurie laid down and then started smiling.
Yeah. Fuck, that pissed me off, man. That pissed me off so much.
The thing
it is such an easy
about
fix,
that is
he just laid down. He just laid down and then he got up and he's laughing and jumping around.
Originally,
guess what, Graham? Sorry.
So originally, if they said when all this head contact stuff came out, they said, well, not head contact, the HIA stuff. They said if a player gets hit in the head and they lay motionless on the ground, without question, they go and do a HIA test.
Yeah, they're saying that on 360 is the rules.
They're doing that all the time now. You look at that Dane Laurie, Hetherington. Is it Hetherington that's at the Bulldogs? Jack Hetherington.
Man,
he did exactly the same
thing. I loved how they
touches.
called him out on the field about that too.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything though. Like they can do that all they want, but the outcome's still going to be the same. The refs are still calling the same thing. It's just what happened to that rule of if you lay down motionless and you get knocked in the head, you have to go get a HIA. They've just
that's the easiest fix.
Because if I'm a referee and I see him laying motionless, I don't want to make the wrong call. Like if the guy's hurt, so you've got to err in the direction.
The ref can make that call. It's the doctors on the side of the field that are supposed to review these things.
Hang on, if it's a high tackle, the referee should know that it's a high tackle 99.9 times before the player's put onto the ground. Okay, if they haven't blown a penalty by the time that they're laying on the ground, then it's not a penalty. If they lay down, trying to get that penalty, if they do not get up, immediate HIA. Absolutely no question. If the referee has to stop, look at them, go, he is unable to stand up right now. That means he has to go off, and it can't be the quick 2-minute interchange.
You guys
do the whole test.
The trainer does the assessment. Do you guys when
shouldn't be an assessment on field?
Yeah, but that's what's happening. That's the current rule. So I'm just playing with what's happening.
Because that's why they have the doctors on the sideline.
Yeah,
they have independent doctors that review every single
Yeah, but that's right. The doctors only look at the footage after the straightaway contact.
Oh, initially, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So the trainer comes on and goes, yeah, mate, like the trainer can be like, lie down. I'll just say you're sweet to go. And that's what's happening. The guys are lying down. Trainer comes out. It happened to Jack Hetherington, happened to Dane Laurie. The trainer came out, did the quick assessment and went, oh, yep, he's good to go. And then the doctor will look at that footage after 10, 20 seconds and they'll look at it and go, oh, yeah, he's fine. Yeah, we know he milked it. Do you know what I mean? So there's nothing in place. And Graham Mannersley came out today and said, oh, we're gonna revisit it. I don't know if you saw it on 360, Brett, but he said, we're going to revisit it and we're going to, if players are staging, we're going to change the rules for next year. That's what he said. He said, it's not going to be immediate. It's
should be right now.
They changed the rule right now to make it this way, so they may as well. Yeah.
The trainer tests come generally most of the time are for when they're defending. It's when they're hit, they're not laying down, but you can see a kind of a wobble, and that's when the trainers will try and stop the game and get the tests in. But if you lay down and it's just immediate HIA, and that will stop it immediately.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason that they brought it in, because they knew that bringing this HIA in, because you get the free interchange and all that sort of stuff, that they thought, oh, we'll bring that in now, and so it would kind of like stop that laying down stuff.
But it's only a free interchange if they're on report.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
There was a
it is. Yeah.
If they go for even if they go for a HIA,
it's only free interchange if they're on report, man. But there was
I thought it was only a free interchange if they didn't come back within 15 minutes or a certain amount of time.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Double check that.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I said on 360, they got an email from I can't remember who, if you remember, but the NFL had a problem with staging. The NFL had a real bad one in 2015, 2016, and the NFL sent a letter, whatever, out to all the teams and said, if you are found staging, we will sanction massive fines. You'll lose draft picks. You'll do like all this type of stuff. And bang, like they stopped them. This was an immediate fix, not like Graham Annesley, the NRL going, oh yeah, look, we're working on it. We might change the rule next year. I think it's pretty poor that they won't change it right now, because if they don't, it'll just turn into soccer where everyone's tiptoeing around. And
didn't they have a rule similar to what you're talking about with the NFL with like EPL or something like that? Someone was talking one of the boys at work, Cozzo, was telling me that they brought in some sort of rule.
You get carded for staging in the EPL, but it's just a matter of proving it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the hard bit. And then like players will do whatever the fuck they will do to gain an advantage, and then it'll turn into a bunker review system to see if people are staging. The game will just be so hard to watch. I think the easy fix is, like Brett said, if you deliberately stay down, like it's a mandatory, maybe not 15 minutes, but it's a mandatory. Look,
that's the test length. No, the length of the full tests is it takes 10 to 15 minutes. I reckon it takes to complete the full test.
That's the thing. If you lay motionless on the ground, you should. That's the rule that they already brought in. They've just been slack with it. You have to go off and get a HIA test. If they want to be serious about head injury and all that sort of stuff, like especially with that Dane Laurie one, he was face down in.
Yeah, he looked like he was unconscious.
Yeah, 100%. And regardless, like you can be unconscious and then jump up and act like everything's sweet. That's a possible thing to happen. So there's nothing saying that he should that he was okay, but the way that he laid down should indicate that. Like if you're motionless on the ground, especially face down, you're going for a test.
Yeah, if you're incapable of standing up.
Yeah, go on.
100%. But it's that policing of it that is driving me.
Yeah, well, that's where they've got to say, they've gone that far with the high shots and said, well, bang, everything's going to be fucking penalised. So if they're going to be that harsh on the shots, then be that harsh on people laying down.
Just 100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, and anyone around the game can tell. Tell.
Anyway, I think we may have got a bit sidetracked. So what surprised you in Origin?
So my surprise was Stocks already talked about the officiating. I thought the fact that there was no binnings, there were definitely high shots through the game. They just obviously weren't picked up / players weren't laying down.
One by Felt, that was ascended.
Oh, mate, Felt's lucky. Felt was very lucky, man.
Lucky, but I'm kind of glad that they didn't do it, because it just like that game, albeit very one-sided, was like a very tough physical. Outside of the scoreline, you take the scoreline out of it, was a pretty good game. So the officiating and the no binning were my surprises. / bloody Latrell, like. I don't know whether it's been because he's been playing a fullback and he sort of came into the season a little bit unfit, wasn't looking that great for the Souths. But I kind of agreed with the fact that he got picked in the centres. He obviously wasn't there last year. But he came in, I thought, I can understand why he's been picked. He's been there before. He has the ability to turn it on. But, God, I absolutely did not expect that from him. I thought that he'd have a pretty solid game and he'd do better than the centres that we had last year. But that when he burned Coates on the outside, I was just like, what is I just didn't expect that at all. And obviously the scoreline was
just a question on that to put to you three guys. Noting you remember, he didn't play Origin last year. The year before, he got dropped after game 1, didn't he?
Yeah, him and Walker.
Because he had a very poor performance. And we've seen him disappear in big games. Like I think he was guilty of that in the grand final even. Yeah. But now you see him turn it on in this. 50-6. Is he a bit of a downhill skier?
100%.
Well, I was about to say that. It is easy to perform when you're up by a lot, but he showed very he showed early stages of that game. He showed that he was out there, to really have a dig.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's pretty easy to keep that sort of confident role going when your team's obviously on fire, and you who was he up against? Dane Gagai, I think, on that side.
Yeah, Green switched him. That was some horrible coaching.
Well, who was on the other side?
Capewell. Capewell plays right edge for club. Gagai plays left centre for club. So he puts Gagai right centre.
I kind of understand in the sense that Gagai's agility and possible in defence, a bit of speed might be better against Latrell. But I think
that's probably the worst game I've seen.
Gagai and Coates, I think they just didn't really combine very well together.
No, it was horrendous.
No. Latrell figured it out pretty quickly, and just
it was horrendous all around. Even the halves, the fifth tackle options were just not there. I can't understand why they weren't just peppering To'o with high balls when Coates is playing on him, known for taking fucking hangers. They tried it once right at the end, and it worked. And then he got the ball to Gagai, but then that awesome defense stopped him from getting to the line.
But why did it take to the 70th minute?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Why weren't they doing that every play?
Yeah.
I'm concerned with Green's
grab
coaching.
That by the balls, man. Well, and Green might be pretty outdated. I mean,
he hasn't been effective since the new rules. He got sacked from the Cowboys. I mean, in the last couple of years, I don't think he suits the new style of game. They were trying to really structured plays.
I found his sort of coaching quite bizarre, and I only say it because I kind of noticed in the week or so leading up, when sort of everyone went into camp, that there was a lot of Fletch and Hindy were doing stuff with the New South Wales team, and there was plenty of media around the New South Wales team and the players and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, it's kind of weird. I haven't really seen or heard too much of Queensland, and it's because he put this weird ban on.
Yeah, media.
I was listening to Dobbo on Triple M, I think it was, and he was saying they sort of got 5 minutes here and there, but essentially you pretty much shut the camp down to that. And I was like, why would you put so much effort into something so Origin's about that. It's about the build-up. It's about the players sort of being involved in that sort of hype around the game. Why would you put so much effort into banning something so kind of ridiculous? It seems like he's just his attention was sort of, I don't know, a bit skewed like that.
I think it was just a rookie coach coming into that level and thinking, okay, this is what I got to do to get my guys to focus and stuff. I mean, it doesn't work. The guy should know better. He played Origin.
Yeah.
And he's got JT and Billy Slater and Cameron Smith in there. Justin Hodges is in there too as well, wasn't he?
He was a few years ago. I'm not sure if he's there this year.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but still, he's got all those people who went through the most successful era in Origin history that should be giving him the advice and stuff. And to me, and I said this to you guys throughout the week, that to me, I felt like he tried to coach that like it was an NRL game, not an Origin game.
I was about to say my biggest gripe with him was that point exactly, was that he had Felt, and he knew Felt had this kickoff where Felt can put it high and whatever. Yeah. The fact that, you did that high kickoff to start the fucking game.
Gave him 30 metres on the first hitter.
I think that's on Felt. I mean, Felt
said,
lands that on the goal line. Look at the 15 grand final. That was on the goal line.
Yeah,
exactly.
So he can. I think he just fucked it up. That was just poor execution.
But how many times did he want to do it? I think
he does it every kick.
High one.
He does it every
kick. We had a lot of kickoffs. So.
Yeah, I know. I think he almost got a broken foot from kicking it off. But
every time he's put it up, we'll catch it on the 20. And the fact that it annoyed me that it just seemed like his tactic was to sort of take the easy option, try and catch New South Wales out rather than doing the hard stuff. And I heard a few people say, in Origin, you want to take the kickoff. You want to have that defensive pressure straight at the start of the game, put it deep, get your line up there quick and just smash him for 6 tackles, they're going to have to kick out of their own end, get the ball in good field position, start the game well. Whereas they did they tried to catch New South Wales off guard, which at their level is not going to happen, which I go back to that clubland sort of style coaching. You're not going to catch them out. Tedesco gets the ball in the 20, sort of is like, oh, okay. Takes pretty much submits in the tackle, gets an early kick. They end up kicking on their, like, almost in Queensland half. Like, that's a shit start to the game.
See,
and
Origin coaching
repeat that one after time and time again. I was just like, come on, man. Like,
Origin coaching is about managing players and attitudes and trying to come up with, you know, shitty little tactic and stuff like that. Even plays, they tell you, like, in the successful Queensland, like, 8 in a row era, Mal Meninga used to say to the players in camp, work out your own plays. You know, you guys are superstars. You can work it out together. And they did, you know, they loved that classic, you know, the out ball, in ball play that they just fucking dominated with.
I think that says a little bit about Meninga as well. He's not
but
exactly
but that's the thing. Meninga wasn't put into that
Neil
role
Henry was the coach of that team.
Yeah, but Meninga was there because he knows what Origin's all about. He epitomizes that, and he can lift those guys. And that's what they need. They need that lift. You know, you got bloody Fafita and Fasul Malawi did fuck all in that game one.
Tino was horrible.
He needed to say to Tino, mate, you're more enforcer. You got to get in these guys' faces. You got to get some attitude. Fucking give away penalties. I don't give a shit. That's what Origin's about. And he went like he was bloody, you know, trying to pick up a kitten or something like that.
On Tino, that was my biggest. That was my most disgusted moment when he let Cleary just take the ball off him. Like,
that was bad, wasn't it?
Like, you just got made look like a bitch by a halfback. Like,
Whereas last year he's there about to box on with his best mate Payne Haas. Like, that's what it should be about.
Yeah.
You look at the successful coaches, especially at that rep level over the years, and I say rep level. I probably wouldn't put Bellamy in that rep level, but he's coached those sort of higher level teams in grand finals and whatnot. And you look at the thing that all of those coaches have in common is they don't go there to coach. You look at Brad Fittler, Mal Meninga, Gus Gould, Wayne Bennett, like all those guys. They talk about it openly. They don't go.
He's a space cadet.
They don't go in there to coach. They go in there to man manage.
That's exactly right.
At that level, you don't need to coach a player on how to play the game. They're there and they got chosen because they know how to play the game.
Yeah, Freddie can't coach. We saw that at the Roosters.
He can't coach at all, but he can get a group together.
But that's it. He's doing that Meninga role where he's that Origin legend who can make a team lift.
And that's where Walters will end up.
About and bring them together as a team to perform as a team, not do what Green seems to have done and tried to bring them together and then sort of been like, oh, I've got all these mad tactics that we can use to try and catch them out and hopefully win the game. Like, come on, man. Like, that's not what it's about.
So before we get too fucking down this rabbit hole and make a 5-hour podcast about game one, do we want to just finish up and talk about changes for game two?
Yeah, real quick.
All right, I'll go. I reckon changes is going to be, I think Colfelt will be dropped, maybe Coates. I think there's going to be a dumb call. I think Will Chambers is going to get a bit of a recall. I hope not. But having said that, I think our big ins will be Papali'i, Christian Welsh, and Ponga. Yeah, and I think we'll get it done in game two. I don't think we'll flog, but I think we'll get it done. I think there'll be a little bit of Munster looking, but from Latrell this time. Latrell gets a little bit stroppy when things don't go his way. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think so too.
Stocksy, what do you got?
So Ponga's in. I think give Capewell and Gagai another go. If anything there, Gagai may move to a wing, but I don't see that happening unless Coates gets dropped. His defence was shithouse, but hopefully they can get him to lift this time round.
If they use him better in attack, the defense isn't as bad.
So the halves need to lift. DCE needs to fucking be a captain and actually lead his team instead of sit there with his, fingers in his ears. Use that fucking tactic. Bomb it to To'o's wing, for fuck's sake. Tino back to lock, you would think, when Papali'i comes in. And Hunt at 14. Bring him in.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Did you see Brimson defending the front line, trying to play hooker?
Yeah, it was dog shit. And offhand Gowie, fuck him off. Get Cohen Hess in, I reckon.
Yeah, even Gowie was trash, mate.
Even
you don't need him now that Papali's back.
Even AJ's delivery from hooker was
bad.
It was so bad.
Yeah, that's right. Arrow will drop to the bench. That's right.
And Arrow's so good off the bench.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So offhand Gowie's gone.
Yeah.
What do you got, Brett?
Ponga to 1. I'd bring Kurt Mann to right centre. I'd drop Coates and Felt. Gagai back to left centre. Holmes to the wing. The other wing's a tough one. It sucks that Corey Oates is not in first grade. I don't know what's happening between him and Kevy.
Sammy's not playing too bad.
Sammy cost the Titans a win the other way. Again, I'd be looking at possibly someone like Sebastian Chris. Ronaldo Malalatino.
Yeah, I'll say that Ronaldo, man, he's in hot form.
I'd look at him. But yeah, Ben Hunt to 14. Harry Grant.
The question?
No, Walsh and Papali back to front row.
Bloody
Welsh. Reece Walsh.
Walsh, yeah.
Nah.
On a wing has a possibility.
Have we moved back to talking about club footy, have we?
No, just saying, throwing it out there. Just saying, as an option.
I would consider him in 2024.
Okay.
At no point pick an 18-year-old and doing a Jared Mullen to him and ruining him.
Yeah. It could be an Izzy Folau.
Well, yeah. Can we pick him from Gold Coast?
Actually, in a couple of weeks.
He's not a play professional league, I don't think.
What about Justin Olam? Is Justin Olam lived in Queensland for a month or so? I'd love to have him in the team.
I like the idea of Sebastian. I actually like your idea about Sebastian Chris. I think he's been really good.
Yeah, no, he's played centre and wing. You could look at bringing him on the wing. I think Felt and Coates have to go. Felt had a shocker. Coates barely been first grade standard this year. He's the worst defensive winger in the game, and he just gives weak carries. And his only positive trait they didn't use, so there's no point having him in the team.
Yep. But obviously with Ponga come straight back in the team, I think his energy around one thing that sort of lacked with Queensland was like how they started their sets. It seemed like Val sort of wanted to be that person, but he doesn't have a lot of creativity. So he's got a strong running game, but that's kind of all that he offers, which he could do from the wing. So I'd probably move him back. Felt is definitely gone 100%. I'm sort of leaning towards Coates having a second chance, purely because if you use him correctly in attack, he can be he can turn the game on its head. Defensively, there's still a lot of questions, but I could probably let that slide with
pending suspensions. I think there will be a change in New South Wales. I think Crichton will come in for Martin on the bench.
Yeah, Crichton's available.
I would. New South Wales, I'd probably stick pretty much the same.
So Freddie's pretty known to stick with the team. If there's no reason to drop anyone, 50 to 6.
I don't think there's many concerns with any New South Wales people's being suspended or anything. I think they're going to be pretty solid. I don't think Crichton brings enough to drop Martin. I think Martin did a very good job.
Really?
100%.
I thought Crichton would be. I think Crichton's the best available back row for you guys. I'm picking the Australian team. My left edge is Fafita, right edge is Crichton. He's a gun.
I tend to agree. It sounds stupid because I tend to agree, but I just a team that puts 50 on. I don't.
I'm not saying I'll make a change. I think that's what will happen though.
Who played lock for New South Wales?
Yo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon?
Had a pretty good game too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's solid, man. He was really good.
Called it.
Yeah, it's I think we could see Crichton come in because Murray isn't that edge player that he was put in. You know, he's put into that role. He's better going through the middle, I think.
Which I tend to agree with, but I just don't think Freddie's going to make any changes.
I could see there being a bit of a shuffle around because I think Murray was wasted in that game.
He's played when Bennett puts him on the edge for South, he's always wasted, and everyone's like, put him in the middle. Like,
I think the way you can get around that though is just giving him that freedom to sort of come in, push Isaiah Yeo to the edge a little bit. He can play back row, so they can sort of chop and change if they want to get.
If it was me, I'd drop Martin and put Crichton straight into the back row, and then probably
Murray
put
back
Murray
to the
on the
bench.
bench. Yeah,
come on at lock.
I mean,
or prop.
to be honest, I wouldn't be bad at it. Like if that's the way that they want to go.
But it would be rough getting dropped after a 50-6 win, though.
He doesn't deserve it, but it would probably improve the team.
Yeah.
Do you think? I honestly, I love the fact that of Hunt coming back in. Brimson was the biggest waste of the spot on the bench. I love that Hunt comes back in, but I'm probably more inclined to start Hunt at 9 and bring Harry Grant off the bench.
What's the word on Marnie? How bad's his injury?
He won't be ready for that. I don't think he'll be ready.
He may be ready for game 3, though, I reckon.
Either way, I tend to have Harry coming off the bench. You even look in the time that he did play at hooker, he's super. He has that real explosiveness and brings that X factor into a game where you put someone like Ben Hunt that'll do the job for maybe the first 20 minutes until the game sort of starts to loosen up a bit. Then bring Grant on for that. He does that really good scoot. He's probably the most dangerous out of all of them, to be honest.
He was on Wednesday.
Ball.
Yeah, he looks fucking.
He was our best. He was our best player easily.
I just don't see him being a starting 9, which is crazy because everyone's sort of pinning him already as the next best thing. Yep. But he's just one of those. I won't say unfortunate because I feel like bench players, there isn't that sort of stigma around bench players anymore. I think him coming off the bench is where he plays easily his best footy. Easily, especially in that initial stage. You don't want him to get into that grind. Like Hunt can do that. Hunt can do that organisation.
Hunt's actually good at that too. Like Hunt's actually good at that too. Hooker for Hunt, I think, takes that
way better than
pressure off him. It takes that pressure off him where he can be indecisive and stuff. He's a good passer of the ball and that, and so it's the perfect role for him really.
He's a great defender. Great defender. Has a great gas tank.
Yeah.
Doesn't get tired.
Can kick a 40-20. Like, can Brimson kick 40-20? I don't know. Fucking just.
Brimson
was
it's like the weirdest idea.
It's like we said in the last episode.
You either play Brimson at fullback or you don't play him at all.
Exactly right.
And it's just
I think everyone said that last week.
Yeah. He's just going to miss out. That's all there is to it. Like, he's a great player and everything, but he's just going to miss out.
Yeah, he's in a Scott Prince situation where he's great, but he's just not good enough to beat the other guys.
We still got to talk props, eh?
Oh yeah. So we'll go quickly through our top 3 props. I'll start off. I don't think mine are that too outlandish. I've gone very sort of 90-70 for my first 2. So I've gone Chief and his probably biggest competitor, Spud. There's something about those two. They're both tough as shit. That sort of era of prop definitely doesn't exist anymore, probably for good reason, given the way they used to go at each other. But I can't go like them through sort of like mid to late 90s where like it was probably the biggest competition between props in that era, and just the toughness of like competitiveness, not wanting to take a step back. But then I'll sort of fast forward sort of the 2000s, and I went with Petro just because he's probably the most reliable prop getting around, took the tough carries, tough as shit. Had a pretty good offload in him, and very.
Can you remember when we
very
fucked him
consistent
off?
over a very long time.
We went to Penrith.
Remember we fucked him off to Penrith, and he made that pack so much better down there, man.
He walked in. Well, it wasn't his form, man. It was because that was back when Bennett refused to pay any money for props.
Yeah.
And he promised him more money, and then he was like, nah.
Penrith played over. Penrith ended up playing
but that was it.
But made him captain, and he did a good
worth
job.
it.
And even when we got him back, he was still good. Like when we got him back,
especially at that time. But yeah, longevity for him. Like just that, he was a great prop over a very, very long time, which is very especially in that sort of like late 2000s era, very rare. What do you got, Brett?
I try to avoid it, but all three minor Broncos. And my fourth option, asking a few more years, Payne Haas is in there. I think he'll end up being an elite. But Petro, for everything you just said, just knocked more people out with his hip than anyone in the comp. Like he just was brutal. Shane Webke, just absolutely no footballing ability in the world, but just all.
Fuck, he's my close fourth. He's
just the perfect front rower. Yeah. Apparently, like really smart too. Which
I've heard that.
You watched him play, that would surprise you.
Yeah.
And number one is Lazarus.
He was lingering just outside
the most skillful prop. I think you'll see. Even like he'd suit today's game. They'd have him at lock at the moment. He's just such a.
He's also the only
in the history of rugby league.
He's also, man, he used to just stand upright and just drop it on the ground and step over it.
He wouldn't even stand upright. He'd be on a 45-degree angle, falling over and just throw the ball behind.
Just a quick stat on Lazarus. He remains today, I believe, the only player that's won a premiership with 3 different clubs.
Yeah,
really? That's a big stuff.
And now he's into like One Nation politics or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Palmer United.
Three premierships into a prime minister.
Remember that Anzac test we went to, and he was sitting in front of us at the
at Suncorp,
yeah. Anyway,
what do you got, Soxy?
Yeah, I got 2 obvious ones, and I decided to pick a maybe a bit of a smoky. Petro and Webke. Don't need to say anything else except Webke, tough man. Can't fight for shit, but he played the 2000 grand final with a broken arm and
had a cast on, man.
Yeah, he had his arm in a cast, and like that's tough, man. And so anyway, I won't harp on those 2 like I would most weeks. But my third one that's a bit of a smoky, Ruben Wiki.
Started as center, I think.
Yeah, started at the center at the Raiders, and became like one of the best props in the game. And so
oh my god, that one thing about Wiki, I wish I could remember who it was, but he took that hit up off the kickoff, and
it was a rooster.
Oh my god,
it was Soliola, man. I'm pretty sure Soliola. That's playing for Canberra. That's playing for Canberra
just
now.
Pumped it. I think it was actually,
Yeah,
that run was
Soliola used to be
one
center,
of the best
man.
runs. Yeah. I think it was one of the best kickoff returns I think I've ever seen. Outside of that one where Spud and Chief collided, he just fucked him up.
Yeah.
I do love Soliola too.
Yeah.
Sando, what do you got?
Yeah, look, fuck. Mine have already been said. Webke, probably my favourite prop of all time. Lazo. But I got a couple of smokies, and I honestly, the two that were really close one was Matt Scott. I really like Matt Scott when he was in his prime. He's a fucking good prop. And the other one, honestly, like I fucking really wish Broncos signed him was James Graham. I fucking was a huge fan of James Graham.
True.
He was one of the props that really like turned into a bit of a ball player, but he also got through the shit, and he had a bit of, I like a bit of grub in my players. Like he had a bit of grub, and like he would do he was such a competitor.
Did the Mike Tyson on Billy Slater?
Yeah. If there was one prop, if there was a question to say who's one player, like, and actually that'd be a good. Just while we're on this, that'd be a good. Name a team like of players that you wish your club signed. He'd be my number one prop. I wish Broncos would sign would have been James.
Just
Graham.
so tough, man. Like, he was that. I talk about the like Chief and Spud, sort of that era of of prop sort of doesn't exist anymore. But if there was one person, or maybe two, I'd probably give it to Webke as well. But sort of, especially like in the later years, James Graham fits that well.
Yeah.
Like you slot him into a 90s team of whichever team in the 90s, and he fits right in. Yeah.
It's funny. You see the props these days, like your Jesse Bromwiches, your Payne Haas's, and like they're great, but they don't compare to those.
It's different, man.
Actually, another prop that just fucking came to my head, Sam Burgess, mate. Like he just a tough fucking.
How much prop did he play though? Like he didn't play
lock.
that much prop.
Lock or second row.
Yeah, he was lock a lot, which was back in those days was basically just a third prop. But,
Well, yeah, I'm talking when he's first come through. But yeah, that toughness, mate. Like I've been watching a bit of 90s game on KO lately. Like,
it's great.
Mate, fucking who was that prop? Is it Ian Roberts, man?
Yeah,
man.
Oh, dude, he was awesome.
People still talk about him as being one of, if not the toughest person of that era to play the game. It's so fucking crazy, aggressive, just man. Insane, man.
Watching a game the other day and just his intent with the ball and in defense. I remember watching it like going, I would be shitting myself, man. Like he was fucking.
How crazy! I was talking to my uncle just about the other day about the body types. Like you look at the scary people of like MG and Ian Roberts and all that sort of stuff. Like they were the big kind of aggressive, scary guys. They were tall, but just like 100 kilo rig and wet. Like they didn't have, they weren't built.
What about some of the rigs on the guys back then? Marty Bella, man, fucking Munster.
Mark Tukey.
Mark Tukey. Yeah, just disgusting rigs, but tough.
George Rose.
George Rose. That's a more recent one.
That dude. Yeah. Dude,
he was fit though, like for some reason.
Who's that? Who's that bloke that went from Broncos to the Titans? He's real, and I think he's at 50 of them.
Brad Myers?
No, he's at the Rabbits. He had that. He's a real retarded looking fella. He's massive now, though.
Wayne Bennett?
No, he's fat as. Oh, he's at the
Broncos. Dave Taylor.
Dave Taylor.
Oh
my God. Have you seen him lately?
Yeah,
he's in good shape, man.
So fat.
He is one of the most
fat shamed by Aaron Mullen, remember?
Oh, he did too. That's right, yeah. To be fair, though, probably warranted.
Oh, yeah, he's been fucking
motherfucker
in a good paddock.
It's insane.
And probably still carving up local A grade.
I think he actually is. I'm pretty sure he's
probably playing 6 too.
Yeah,
when he's not sniffing toilet seats.
Yeah. All right, boys. We'll wrap it up pretty much now. We're just going to round 15 tips. So we first got on Thursday. We've got Broncos Rabbits. Brett?
Ouch.
Rabbits via sexual assault.
Dave?
Rabbits. 15 plus, easily.
Stocksy?
Yeah, can't. Bunnies.
Anyone out there listening?
Bunnies too, I think. They're really getting into showing a little bit of form lately. I think they're having a bit of a run towards the end of the year.
That left
Broncos are showing some form too. It's all bad.
Broncos got
form nonetheless.
Can you imagine that left edge against the Broncos right edge?
Oh, it's going to be horrible.
It is at Suncorp too.
I might just watch Jodie Foster in The Accused instead.
Friday night first game, we've got Cowboys Sharks. Brett?
Sharks.
Oh, it's a bit of a toss up this one, I think. Dave?
Yeah, I'm picking Sharks. I reckon they're coming off pretty hot off that penny win. I reckon they'll get up. They'll do the job.
Oxy?
Well, Cowboys.
It is up north. God.
Sharks
are outsiders.
Hey, don't worry about Brad. He's not going to fucking watch, mate. He's going to watch the podcast.
I was going to tell my Matt Scott story, but I thought.
I think I'm going to go Sharks as well on that one. I think they did show a little bit of form last week. The second game, Penrith pretty much back to full strength. Penrith versus the Roosters.
Yep.
Roosters are paying $4.
Yeah, it's probably fair.
Crazy.
Penrith back to full strength. Yeah,
they've still got a lot of out.
Penrith got the boy band back, mate. They'll do them well, I reckon.
So everyone Penrith that one?
Yeah, free spins.
The first game Saturday, 3:00, Knights Warriors. Brett.
Go on Knights. Ponga to have a blinder.
Dave.
Fuck, I might go to that game. Actually, it's here. Yeah, I'm going to go Knights. Fuck it. Ponga's back.
Soxy.
Knights have returned to fuck my tips again last week, so I'm going to go Warriors.
I'm actually going to go Warriors as well in a little bit. I feel like the Knights will probably be trying to have a good game at home, but Ponga's back in, but I'm just not really convinced about the Knights this year. Second game, Dragons versus Raiders at Wynn Stadium, Brett.
You got to go Raiders after the last week's performances. You can't. I mean, you can't really look at the Raiders, but no, I'm more looking at the Dragons, also the Dogs.
Yeah, true. They were bad.
So, yeah, no,
it could be tough to watch.
You can't tip Dragons after that.
Dave.
Disgrace.
Yeah, Dragons were a complete poo on the weekend. I think Raiders will get up pretty easy, 13 plus in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go the Raiders as well.
I'm going to Raiders as well, sort of based off last week. I just don't.
I don't
think the Dragons have the talent in their team to turn it around in 1 week.
What I think will happen is fast start from the Raiders, and they will fade again, but still hang on.
They'll hang on, yeah. Last game on Saturday, we got Storms versus Tigers, but it's at Sunshine Coast Stadium, Brett.
We'll see Ken Mamalo straight into the Tigers team.
He is too, yeah.
Is he on the sting straight up?
Yeah, straight away.
So he'll be, and Roberts is into the centres. So they've where's Dewey? Where's my man Dewey?
He must be out.
He's out. Him and Walters are out.
That changes my tip.
Storm by 100. One thing I did notice about this is a little bit off, but BJ Lalua is in reserve grade playing second row. So he came out saying that it's time for him to move into the forwards.
He can't keep off the frigging fast food. He's fat.
Yeah, so, but yeah, Storm 30 plus.
Storms.
Yeah, Storms, mate. Fucking
yeah. Tigers paying $9. There's no way else.
Rightfully so.
First game on Sunday, we got Para versus the Bulldogs. That's probably could be one-sided. Para.
Yeah. So long, Fergo.
He's back in the squad now. He's behind a bloke called Sean Russell.
Is he off contract at the end of this year?
Yes.
There you go. I wonder.
Yeah. They reckon.
I'm surprised. I don't think he'd be a bad pickup for someone that might be.
They reckon he's played his last game for the Eels.
Wouldn't shock me to see him back at the Roosters because they need some wingers.
Oh yeah, that's true. Actually,
and they've got a history of picking up older cheapies. So
that's a fair call. I think that's the thing. I think he's a good enough player to get him at unders. So I'd probably do that. So obviously everyone's on Eels for that one. The last game for the round, we got Titans versus Manly.
Yeah,
and that is Seawolves. That's on the Gold Coast.
Is Tommy playing?
Yeah.
Manly by lot.
Manly.
They put on 50 points without him, didn't they?
I was just about to say, but they were getting done. I'm pretty sure they were getting done.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah, well, Cowboys scored in the first 2 minutes or something.
Yeah, they started very slow, but they're pretty much full strength.
Grimson's at 21. He might come in.
I've
been injured, I think.
Super impressed with that Jaden Campbell at number one. Like I think he's like 6 foot and only about 80 kilos.
Yeah,
like, geez, he just
small frame.
But he has that. The way that he runs, sort of like, I hate it when other people do this, but sort of when they make those comparisons. But he's obviously not GI, and he's not even built like him. But he has that sort of run where he doesn't necessarily step. He sort of, it's more of he can change direction without stepping very quickly, very easily. Yeah, just the way he moves through defensive line. I watched a highlight package of him when he was playing Q Cup, and Jesus, like insane balance. And I think once he puts probably 10, 15 kilos on, he's going to be, if he can sort of, I'd hate to see him be one of those fringe players where he's always behind a fullback. Like if AJ sort of stays long term with the Gold Coast, I'd like to see him move probably somewhere else that are struggling for fullbacks. But I think he could really make a run and have a good career. But so everyone's on Manly.
Yeah.
For that one, I think that'll probably end up being a bit of a blowout. To be honest, Titans weren't too bad last week, but
too little, too late, mate. They fucking leaked 30 points, man.
That's a lot. And like the Roosters, I couldn't believe that they allowed them to even get back into the game. That was unbelievable. But I think Manly would just be on them from the get go, and it'll pretty much be over pretty early. All right, boys, 10 apps down. That's crazy. You're double figures already.
Well, I am. The rest of you fellas.
Well, yeah. You're the only one that's been consistent through the whole lot. The Origin Swans will be named next week.
Did you guys know it was a Sunday game? The next Origin is Sunday,
yeah.
They go on Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday.
So teams will be named Monday, then next Sunday's the game. Is that correct?
I know. No, they always have at least a full week and then a round before. So if it's the Sunday, the 27th,
it's not a split. It's not a bye week, is it?
Oh, it's actually next weekend, not this weekend. The following.
So teams will be named Monday. They're going to camp. On Sunday.
They give everyone a bye, don't they?
I reckon they'll be announced after the last game.
Yeah, it's announced after the last game.
Yeah,
it is.
Except for Queensland, they'll name theirs in alphabetical order on the Monday.
That drives me nuts. Yeah. That really is.
What's the point of doing alphabetical order if then they have to put a bloke in the number 19 jersey? If you didn't give him a number at the start of the week, give him the number 1. Anyway.
Makes no sense.
Fucking dumb, yeah.
So we might have to do... Oh, no, we'll have to do an early one next week because the game's on Sunday.
We'll be right. That's
perfect. All right.
Is it? Hang on. What the fuck?
Yeah, so teams should be going to camp on Monday and then the game's played on Sunday.
Yeah.
27th it's on. So we've got two weeks.
Yeah.
No,
so after this Sunday, the teams will be announced.
Yeah.
So
and they'll give you a week.
Yeah. Next Monday they're going to camp and then it'll be the game on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So next week's pod will be pretty much based around the teams being named.
Yeah, pretty much. And reviewing the round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What's the top 3 positions next week? Is it back row?
We're going for another Origin team next week, and then we'll go back row the week after.
What was our first Origin theme? I can't even remember.
Series, but it's kind of it sort of veered off into games rather than series.
Moments
so I think maybe next week we'll do top 3 moments of Origin history.
Well, I think that's what you and Brad did, wasn't it, Brett? You did moments, didn't you?
Me? I don't think I was on for that one.
No, they were originally.
Oh no, it was Johnny Lister.
Yeah.
My top 3 has been players each week.
Sort of, everyone sort of like veered into one game specifically, but we'll go into top 3 moments next week.
All right.
Perfect. All right, boys. Been a pleasure.